Good afternoon and hi everyone. Welcome to our second DigiSomo Chat. It's very exciting and we have a new speaker today and we're going to be talking about branding. So my name is Sally Rotich. I am a digital content developer at SOMO Africa, and I will invite Benedict to introduce himself. Thereafter, introduce Wanjira. Benedict.
Thank you, Sally. I'm Benedict Sogomi, and I work at SOMO as a digital content, and I'm looking forward to an interactive session.
My name is Wanjira Ng'ethe. My background is in marketing. I have around 7 years of experience in sales and marketing. I currently handle product marketing at Chums.io, and I previously worked as an account manager, which is basically sales at Unilever, Kenya. So that's a bit on my professional background.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wanjira, for joining us on this call. And we are so excited to talk about branding and any other questions that will come about this call. So I hope whoever will be watching this will stick around for a very insightful conversation that is coming forth. So on to the first question, Wanjira, is if you can give us an overview or understanding of what branding is and is not.
I think in most, because of how there's so many preconceptions of what branding is, a lot of people define it as what it's not, right? Because what it's not the tagline, it's not the logo, it's not your branches, it's not the advertising that you do. It is primarily what people think and feel about your organization. So are you true to what you say you're going to do? That's what the brand is. Are you, your interactions with someone, how they interacted, let's say, for example, with your customer service when they call to talk to you, the impression and the feeling you leave them having is essentially what branding is and what a brand is. And in as much as for the longest time, people felt that checklist of logo, tagline, your brand colors, your topography, what you as the owner of the brand can control, but essentially what people think and feel about your brand, which you can't control, is essentially what the brand is. So you can make sure all those things are there, they're done. You have your logo, you have your jingle, but how someone feels after maybe interacting with your logo, how they feel after interacting with your employees is essentially what a brand means to an individual.
Yeah, that's something we always emphasize a lot in class, that branding is not logo, it's not the posters you have, it's not the colors used for your business, it's the perception that your customers have about you as a person and your business. So thank you for highlighting that, Patricia. So I'll ask you the second question. Why do you think brand management is important, especially to entrepreneurs starting out?
When people hear about the name of your company or the name of your brand, or they touch your product, how they feel and how they react to their perception of your brand is quite critical, because it informs what they will do next. So they've seen a poster, what will they do next? So it's quite integral for you to know how people relate whenever they interact with your brand, whether it's your packaging, whether it's when they see your logo, when they see your advert on social media, when they talk to an employee in your company, how they feel, knowing how they feel lets you know what is the next course of action. Yeah. So if someone has a negative experience, let's say talking to someone at customer service, they will not buy for you, for example, but you still need to know what that person encounters so that you can work on changing that perception. So it's quite integral for you to know where your brand sits in someone's mind. So when they see a a jam, when they see your products on display, what have they felt? Is it because when they, let's say for example, you make peanut butter, you'd want to know when they actually applied peanut butter on the bread, how did it feel? When they served it to their family, what was the reaction? Those are the things that inform you whether you're doing the right thing, you're on the right course. The people you've served have enjoyed or have had negative or positive experiences with your brand. And it's a roadmap. It's the thing that guides you on whether you're doing the right thing or not. Because if you just sit and say, my product is perfect, what I'm doing works, but you're not paying attention to what people are feeling when they interact with your brand, you will be maybe trying to move in a direction that's quite opposite from what the people who actually will buy from you are thinking. So it's a matter of trying to read people's minds without, and which most of us don't have the capability of doing, but you have to at least employ tactics and efforts towards it, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect people to act the same way. You can't make a bad product and expect people to keep buying. You need to know whether they like it or not. You can't keep wrapping your product in a paper that's not appealing. People won't buy it. It's not attractive. It's not authentic. So if you don't mind read your audience, your customers, you'll end up not moving as fast as you maybe probably could if you understood. Yeah.
That was a very good response, Wanjira. I appreciate it. Benedict, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sally. Wanjira, you have spoken about whereby an entrepreneur has to have the interest of the customer at heart while doing branding of their products. And so this an entrepreneur is asking themselves, yeah, I do that branding and I feel a negative vibe from my customers. So in that instance, what will you tell that entrepreneur to do in order for him or for her to quickly get back on their feet and retain their customers before they lose them?
So I think the biggest fear we all have is the fear of failure. And unfortunately, without failing, you wouldn't really learn. So just having that yearning to always strive to overcome fear of failing is a big thing in terms of understanding or approaching branding. Because you can imagine you are trying to make a product and you make it and you think it's perfect, and then someone says, I didn't like it. So that makes you feel like you failed. So you have to unmask or reduce the levels at which fear guides you, so that you're able to now reach out to that specific customer who said, I hated your product. It had this reaction on me. I never want to see it again. Failure can make you not even want to talk to that person. Failure can make you think, this person does not know what they're talking about. My product is perfect. But if you approach it from a point of, okay, I need to understand what this means, it will help you in a long way understand what you can course correct, as opposed to sticking to your ways and proceeding to think that one customer is the person who does not understand what your product is delivering. So I think overcoming the fear of failure, because when you have a negative response from your customer, it is a failure. That person has said that you're failing at what you're doing, but overcoming that fear helps you get that feedback. Yeah, I think that's one way of I would advise that entrepreneur.
Whatever you've said is right. Just like accept failure is part of growth, it's part of learning, it's part of the success, and just embrace it, learn from it, and take the next step. So speaking of that fear and all that, advising our entrepreneurs, what are some of your favorites branding campaign, you personally?
So I think I can speak from maybe studies or maybe case studies. I might so things I've taken time to look at and research. I think the equity member campaign was very impactful. So being in the financial services industry, you tend to look at what are the big milestones. So if you look at our country, financial inclusion was quite a was felt like a pipe dream. So many people didn't have access to financial services, and what Equity did was break that break those barriers by getting people accessing branches in towns that there are no branches, opening bank accounts. And what their campaign did, or if you go back to just even checking the advert, is they were able to commit to bringing financial services to wherever you are, despite whatever you did for a living. Because at the time, back then, when I think most of us were still very young, if we were not already born, it was very hard to access financial services. But they changed that by offering a product, and over and above that, communicating that anyone, despite what they were doing, could access an equity account, an equity branch. So that was one of the campaigns I have studied. I personally was not the target audience at the time. I don't think I could have. I could open a bank account at the time, but that is one of the things I think locally they look at is an ad campaign that I think should fit in a case study somewhere. The integrated communication campaign that Kenya Airways did as well. I think for me, when I was growing up, one of my family members worked in the airline, and it was just to see too much the way she would present herself to work, to the jingle I had on radio or on TV. There's a song that I think if we all play to anybody, you can resonate that and tie that, let's say, for example, to Kenya Airways. And not only to just anyone, but to anyone in Kenya. Like what they said they would deliver, making Kenya or putting Kenya as the hub of Africa, they did that. So and that came out, and that in my thinking, we were able to feel that and tie that to all the communication that they were doing. So from the colors, to the tagline, to the jingle, to the visuals. So in a way, the feeling that I got seeing my cousin working there, for example, and all that allowed me to see it working in different ways. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a journey you have had there. How did all this experience build your entrepreneurship skills as a person and also as an entrepreneur?
So I think so those are just examples. For example, I've seen being rolled out very impactfully, especially in our market. Like if you go back and maybe even to the entrepreneurs that are the target audience for SOMO, those are brands that they know and they see. I think it's a good place to start in understanding what impact branding has. For me, in my interest lie in technology primarily. So I have seen brand promises and brand commitments such as those that, for example, the big tech companies have given or delivered on, and it informs how I perceive and interact with technology. So the promise to, let's say, for example, that Apple commits to, that for you to be able to position it in people's minds that they get the best in class, the best in design, and there's a lot of innovation, a lot of drama, a lot of flair in how they deliver it. That has even upped how I perceive technology. So I think in my day-to-day, that has always been something I look forward to, like consuming their content,